Welcome to the Mental Pulse podcast. Today we have with us Miss Toni Brewer. Welcome, Toni.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, doing good, doing good. So I met Toni back when I coached at Madison Academy when I coached the girls basketball team as assistant coach, and Toni played for Sparkman High School. So I ran into her at Publix one day and I said, you know what, Toni? Hey, I need you to be a guest on the Mental Pulse podcast. So thanks for joining us today.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right, just to get us started, Toni, tell us who you are, your background, and your athletic identity story.
Okay, my name is Toni Brewer. I'm from Huntsville, Alabama, but I guess I could claim Harvest. I never really claimed out here in the country like that because I'm like, nobody knows where that is. Went to Sparman High School. I went to the same schools my whole life. So I went to Harvest Elementary, Sparman Middle School, Sparman High School, and I started playing basketball when I was 8 years old. Will you believe it, T? I wanted to be a cheerleader at first.
Really? Oh no, I
Yes,
wouldn't.
oh
I
my
can't
goodness.
imagine that.
Yes, I wanted to be a cheerleader at first. And I remember my dad took me to the tryout. And once I figured out that I wasn't going to be a flyer, I was like, yeah, I don't want to do that.
What's
I
a
wanted to,
flyer?
that's the one that's hoisted up into the air and they're holding the hoses and stuff. I wanted to do that, but I've always been the bigger kid. So they're like, no, you're going to be a base. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do that. Although basketball was the only sport I played, I really did enjoy playing other things and trying other stuff. I just wasn't that. I was an athletic girl, but I was, what's the word I'm looking for? The athleticism didn't always show up. I was very clumsy.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, let me stick to basketball. Let me get this down pack and then we can go from there. What's the other part you wanted me to talk about? I'm sorry.
Just tell us your athletic identity story. So you
Oh,
started at
okay.
the age of 8, and how did you matriculate through?
I was a person who I was always goal oriented. And I remember when I first started, I wasn't very good. I was tripping over my own 2 feet. I remember I used to throw the ball like over the goal, and I remember my dad used to be screaming at me like, "What are you doing?" And this was my first time ever playing, and it was like it could be nerve-wracking or whatever. So my first year playing was with the Boys and Girls Club. This was the all-girls team. I was 8, and I think I'm trying to see, was it 8 and under? I don't think it was 8 and under. I think it was during that time. It
Yeah.
wasn't many little girls playing. So it might have been 10 and under. So it might have been
Right.
like 8, 9, and 10-year-olds. But most of the girls I played with were older. And they were very patient we were all young. They always clap for me, like, oh, you shot the ball, or come on, let's get down the floor. So I think for me, one of my biggest goals, even being a collegiate athlete, was to one, get the job done, play hard, make the shots I'm supposed to make, but also be a great teammate. That was a big thing for me because those girls could have easily picked on me or not passed me the ball, but they were still very genuine and still very helpful to me. So that was one of my biggest goals, just to be a good teammate. I guess I can start off with my identity as a player. I remember, like you were saying, going back to Sparman High School days. I remember trying out for, I thought I was trying out for the freshman team. I was
Yeah.
so excited, but I was nervous. I was like, oh, I hope I make the freshman team. And then I'll never forget, June Seals called my mom and she was like, yeah, we want you to bring her up to the varsity practice. And I was like, I told my mom, no, we ain't doing that. Like I just signed up for that. And I was just so nervous because I'm like, it's Sparkman High School. I just felt it was an honor to even be trying out for the team because I knew who Adrian Well was, Monica Maxwell, Danielle Vaughn, Shatia Kelsey. I knew these girls. I went to see them play when I was in middle school. So I'm just like, varsity? I was like, I don't know about that, Mom. I was so nervous. But I ended up being on varsity as a ninth grader. And that's when I knew that I was good. That solidified to me like, okay, I'm just not out here, that I'm good to be able to play with seniors and juniors and actually be able to compete. I actually got a lot of minutes for it to be a ninth grader. And listen, that was a ride in itself being a freshman because we had 5 freshmen at the time and then we had 5 upperclassmen. So it was the battle of the young and the old.
Yeah.
But I think that solidified that I knew that okay, yeah, you're good and you need to take this more seriously. I've never really been a gym rat, but I knew I was a gamer and I always was going to go hard every play. And if I had to knock you over, I'm going to say sorry later, but Yeah, if I
Yeah.
gotta knock you over to get to
Yes.
my goal, then I'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tony's
So
pretty strong, you guys. Just FYI.
yeah, I'm trying to
She
get
was
that strength back. Listen,
pretty strong in the paint.
trying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. So in regards to Sparkman, so you played for June Seals, right?
Hmm.
And then you played a lot as a minutes as a freshman. Let's go back to middle school. How was middle school? You went to, where did you say, Morovia?
Okay. Sparkman. Went to
Sparkman Middle.
Sparkman School.
Okay.
And most of the girls I played with, we were all buddies, we were all friends. We hung out together on the weekends, and we could never win a county championship. We always lost to somebody. Back then, it's like you can't keep playing. That's any team. You play these teams 2 and 3 times, and then on the last time we could never beat them when it counted. But it was so fun. I think that's when I got used to winning because we didn't lose often. Even at Spartan High School, we didn't lose often. So going into college, well, we'll get to that. But going into college, being on a team where everybody was so used to being mediocre. Or I remember I couldn't sleep at night when we lost. And a lot of people like, oh, why are you getting all worked up? And I'm like, because I'm not used to losing.
You're right.
I don't like to lose. But I think middle school, we were still learning the fundamentals. And it was like, okay, I think my coach, I can't remember his first name at the time, Coach C, that was his name. He used to always, every coach has their different terminologies for like how you should shoot the ball or aim for the eyes. That's what he used to tell us. And I remember I was not good at free throws at all in middle school and some in high school. I remember my parents used to be like, all right, we'll pay you if you start
Free
making,
throws.
yeah. So that was a nice incentive. Then I started getting good, and my mom was like, yeah, we're not doing that anymore. So that middle school was literally the still learning phase. You're still learning what position you're going to be playing, the terminology, possibly being coached a little harder, which is for women, it's hard, especially when you have men who are very, people would say aggressive, but they're just blunt. And that's the part of coaching that nobody likes to pay attention to. Yeah, you have to listen to what the person is saying to you, but not so much how they're saying it because it's the heat of the moment. But
Right.
yeah, I think that was the first time I ever had a hard coach. So I'm glad I had the coach I did in middle school and then going to play for June Seals, which was tough in itself as well because she knew what she wanted. And if you weren't getting it done, she was going to tell you or
Right.
whatever.
Absolutely. So talk about your after your ninth grade year. How did things go your 10th through the 12th grade years in Sparkman?
My sophomore year at Sparkman, we went into what they call like a sophomore slump. Most of the
Yeah.
team we were sophomores. I think that year we only had one senior.
Okay.
So we were still learning so much, and everybody else had gotten older. And in basketball, people don't realize, yeah, you can have the talent. Yes, you could have the IQ and stuff, but sometimes age does play a big factor
Yeah.
when, those end of the game situations. Yeah, my sophomore year, I think that's the year we lost the most games. We lost 10 games that year. And it was, ooh, those girls, y'all, Sparkman, y'all fell off. We had never lost that many games before. So my junior and senior year were probably the most exciting years to play at Sparkman. My junior year, I think we got put out at Wallace State. So it was like, what was that considered? Like the
That's the
semi,
regionals.
the regionals. Okay, yeah, regional. We lost to Hoover High School, and they had all seniors,
Yeah.
and they were a good team, but I just don't think we had the pieces to pull together.
Okay.
But that year was a very exciting year altogether. I'm going to add AAU into this too, because going into my senior year, that's when I started to get more traction with recruiting. Like more people were contacting me, wanting me to come on visits and stuff. And I didn't know much about visits and stuff like that. I could only go off what maybe my teammates had told me about their visits, or maybe some older people who, that I knew. Adrian Webb would come back home and talk to us about college and stuff like that. And I'll never forget, I really wanted to go to Delta State, but I knew I wasn't going to make my decision until like my senior year. You started to have these relationships with coaches, and they're coming to your AU games and they're just singing your praises. But I knew that I was like, not trying to say I would necessarily want to go D1 or whatever, but I knew I was like, let me wait around. I want to see what's going to be the best option for me. My senior year, I went on a few visits to junior colleges, Division II, some lower level Division I. And I was like, okay, I was trying to figure out what level that I wanted to play on. I wanted to, I don't want to say it like this, but I wanted it to be somewhere that I knew I would play. And it was very similar to the same style that my high school team played on, because I'm a 5'10" forward or whatever. So I'm already undersized. At a Division I school, like a Jacksonville State, that's where I went on one of my visits to. I would have definitely had to play more of a guard type of player. But I was like, I could do that, but I knew my strengths were down low. So I'm like, I need to go somewhere where I could play my game, the game I like to play. And as my senior year progressed, I began to get a little shot, as my mom said, you got a little shot. That's how my mom used to, I was like, you got to shoot the ball. My mom never played ball, T, by the way. She used to
Okay.
always be trying to tell me everything. I'm like, Mom, you never played. How you going to tell me? But
She watched a lot of basketball though, so
she
she
did
has
that. Now
she
that was my
knows.
biggest fan. I will give her that. She loves to share it on Facebook when I used to play. I'm like, Mom, let it go. Like those are the old times. But as my game progressed, I started to get more interest from college coaches and stuff. And I remember, I never forget, I think West Florida seen me at a Christmas tournament. And ever since that first day they saw me and they were able to contact me, they always stayed in contact with me, even after we lost in our state championship game to Shays Valley. I'll never forget the assistant coach. She called me and she was trying to cheer me up, and that kind of stayed with me. I hadn't even been on a visit yet. That stayed with me. And then when I got down there, that's when I knew, okay, they had a family-like atmosphere, something that I was used to. And that's what ultimately made me decide to go to that school. But yeah, college was fun, but I was very worried that I knew in high school I was used to playing a certain way and being around certain groups of people. Like I was saying, the girls I played with in high school, I had played with them for years. So going to college, I was like, that's very important to me, being a part of a family atmosphere. I know a lot of people preach about family, but they really don't. I don't think they're as true to it as they try to
No,
make it seem.
I agree with that. I can agree with that. So you went to University of West Florida, you said, or North Florida?
Mhm. West Florida. Mhm.
Pensacola.
Yes,
Pensacola.
ma'am.
Okay. 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 So talk about how things were at University of West Florida for you.
I was just talking to a friend about this that I played college sports with. And most of all my teammates, listen, all my teammates now are like married, they have kids. And I'd be like, ooh, it's about that time. But one of my friends, she was like, yeah, when we were in college, like you literally had things your way. And I was like, what are you talking about? She was like, you were the best player on our team. I remember my teammates used to ask me to ask our coach, hey, you gonna ask, can we go get ice cream after the game? I'm like, why y'all want me to ask? She ain't gonna say no to you. But I had never had that star treatment before. So of course, I didn't abuse it, but it was just very still new to me. I was like, I'm just a regular person like everybody else. But I remember going like out like downtown in Pensacola, like people would know, oh, you go to West Florida, like you're Toni. I'm like, huh? I used to think that stuff was just on TV, but that's like real life, especially in those small college towns and
Yeah.
stuff. But I enjoyed my college experience, and there was a time I wanted to transfer, but I was like, I started here, I'm going to finish here. We end up going to the Elite Eight
Wow.
my junior year,
Mm-hmm.
which was big. I had never, being at Sparman, I always fell short. So to win a regional title in Division II, I remember like boohoo crying because I had never won anything. I was like, wow,
Yeah.
like you are worthy. You are capable of finishing it all. Of course, that year we did fall short, but that's the furthest like women's basketball has ever made it in that University of West Florida women's basketball history. I end up being the leading rebounder, all-time leading rebounder for women's basketball, the second
Wow.
all-time scorer. Yeah. I think every year I had a different goal to be like, not just player of the year, but I wanted to average a certain amount of points, a certain amount of rebounds. And it was so bad, T, at one time in the game, I'll never forget, this was my senior year. We played Troy, and it was like an exhibition game, and I scored 37. They said I scored 37 points, but I always kept up with my own points in my head. I actually had 39 points.
Yeah.
So I remember just thinking, wow, everybody always talks about, oh, Division 1, Division 2, but I'm like, there's really no levels to this. Like, you're good, you're good. And I remember like some of the Troy players coming up to me, you trying to come to D1? I'm like, thinking to myself, huh? Just off of one game. But I think once in that game, most of the girls that I played against, they were like 6 foot, 6'2", and I was still scoring over them. So another way I could see, okay, if I wanted to play professionally, I could. This is nothing. You just have to
Right.
work hard and get yourself in a position. And that's when I knew that I'm like, okay, good is good, regardless of the division, regardless of the level that you're playing on, a
Right.
conference. If you're good, you got it, then you're in good hands.
Right.
Trying to think of something else I could.
I'm gonna chime in. Yeah, when I played at Georgia State, there was a senior when I was a freshman. Her name was Evita, and she was about 5'10", and she was a five
Mm-hmm.
player. And
Mm-hmm.
Evita, the name is hanging in the Raptors now at Georgia State because she was
Yeah.
just that good. But yes, she was undersized, but she
Mm-hmm.
definitely was able to maximize her potential and was able to overcome the height challenges that she was facing against. She had a 3-point shot. She could put the ball on the
Yeah.
floor.
See, I could never get that. I
Yeah.
struggle with threes, but
Yeah, but no, I'm saying so she was able to overcome that, and she was a five player at the size of 5'10".
Mhm.
But yeah, size don't matter. It's all about your determination and your heart and trying to reach those goals. And if you like my husband say all the time, if you're a dog, you're a dog. So it don't
Listen,
matter.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in regards to winning it all, getting close to winning it all, and the fact that you felt good, right? Once you won or
Mhm.
got to the Elite Eight in the college setting. I felt the same way because I went to Lee High School in Huntsville and we didn't win nothing, right? We didn't get past
Yeah.
sub regionals. And so when I became a coach at Madison Academy and we won a couple state championships, but that first state championship was really special because it was my first time winning something.
Yeah.
I won something at Georgia State, but I never won something at the high school level. So definitely understand the fact of how you can, it feels good to actually win on a level of something you put all your heart and dedication into. So completely understand that. Completely
Mhm.
understand that. But yeah, in regards to you was talking about you were just star player at UWF. So compare UWF being the star and were you the star at Sparkman High School as
I
well?
would say I was one of the stars when I
Okay.
played in high school. I was the person like, okay, Toni is always going to be consistent. That's what I remember June Seals used to always say, like 54, she never called us by our names.
Mm-hmm.
54, I already know what she's going to give me every night. She's going to make free throws. She's going to play defense. She's going to rebound. And that's what she told me as a freshman. She used to tell us, if you don't do what I say, you're not going to play. So I had to learn really quickly. Like, you had to get on board. And I think me and you spoke about this one time at Publix. Like, that's what the game is missing now, I feel, in Little League and even in high school and college. People are afraid to tell young athletes their role. And nothing is wrong with being a role player because you matter too. Everybody, it takes everybody on the team.
Absolutely.
Nobody wins when the family feuds. So I think I had to learn early on. If I wanted to play, if I want to be on the floor, you just got to do what you have to do and you
Right.
have to be consistent. So I would say I was one of the stars at Spartan High School, but we had another player, Alexis Jennings, like she was big time. She was a great player. And to play behind her, that was no diss to me. She was better. I can admit to that. And if
Right.
she had a good night, most of the times we were going to win because
Right.
she was averaging about 20 points a game.
Absolutely. Yeah. Alexis was good. I played women's league with her mom, Tracy, if you
Yeah,
remember. Yeah.
Miss Tracy is definitely, she's a Division 2 Hall of Famer as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. Is Alexis still playing overseas?
I believe she is. I
Yeah.
think she is. I don't know
Pretty
what
awesome.
country specifically, but she is still playing
Yeah.
professionally.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. Going back to one of the players you said, I think it was a senior. I think you said was Adrian. Was she a senior when you was a freshman?
No, Adrian had actually, I can't remember exactly what year Adrian graduated. I just knew her because she always came around, even as I know this may sound very fangirlish, but I remember growing up, I remember I saw her at McDonald's and my dad was like, "You gonna go speak to Adrian?" And I went up to her and she was very polite and she's like, "Oh, hey." And I told her, I said, "I come see you play all the time." And she just always was humble and
Yeah,
genuine.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
yeah,
Definitely
but I
agree.
don't remember exactly what year. I think she graduated, I don't know, because I played that year. What, Sharon, Nyla, Kiki, all of them, my
Mm-hmm.
freshman year, they were
Yeah.
seniors.
Okay.
So they
Yeah.
graduated
11.
2011.
11.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah. Yeah. 2011. Okay. Okay. So you were the star at UWF. And so after you graduated, what did you do? What did you transition to?
so I wanted to I didn't want to play overseas. I wanted to live overseas. And that was my plan. I was telling my parents, like, yeah, I'm going to go play overseas. But I really was just, I wanted to live abroad. That was my plan. But I had a major death in the family
Mm-hmm.
and it shook me because I had been away for 5 years. And you feel like you missed that pivotal key moments with your family members.
Yeah.
I was able to spend, it was my step grandfather, he passed away. And I was able to spend his last 2 weeks of his life with him. I was right there with him and my grandmother by his side. But I think that showed me, I was like, yeah, family is important. Like I could try to go, but I'm just like, my heart's not in it. Cause I love basketball. I still love sports to my core. But to play, like
Right.
now people always ask me, like, are you gonna go play women's league and stuff? Like, I'll come watch. Now I may play more this year. That was one of my goals to get active and play more. But I think I love to watch it now. I'll shoot some baskets or whatever, but I don't really care to play like pickup.
Gotcha. Gotcha. My advice is play while you can, because the older, the less likely you are going to play and to hoop it up. You'll be more like just shooting baskets then, right? I'm just shooting.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. But yeah, after college, I ended up moving back to Huntsville to be closer to family, and I ended up working at a. You ever heard of GIS?
No.
I can't. I'll end up being a GIS analyst for Optimal Geo, which is an engineering company out in Athens. I ended up doing that for a
Okay.
little while before the pandemic. And then, whoo, once that happened, that's when I was like, oh, I'm a real adult. When I got laid off from my job for the first
Oh,
time,
oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
was like, this is adulthood. I'm like, why ain't nobody tell me what? And that's another reason why I think athletes, people should preach to athletes more. Be more than, like you said, be more than your sport. Get
Right.
out
Absolutely.
and be involved with your community, with organizations at your school. And I was more than my sport. I never really told people around. That wasn't the first thing I'll say to people, like, oh, I play on the women's basketball team. It was probably like the third or fourth thing I will mention. So I did do a good job, I think, of getting involved with the community, meeting other regular students. But I wish I had a chance to do more internships or work more, things like that. And I think that's what kind of threw me off years after stopping playing basketball and then trying to get out here in the workforce. Because I'm like, I know I'm not lazy. Like, what is it? Times are just different now, especially with requiring your dream job or a job that could possibly pay you the salary that you want.
So what was your major in college?
Communication.
Communications. Okay. Yeah.
Communication.
But to be honest, I think communications in this day and age is a good field to be in, as well as marketing, just because dealing with social media and the way that people are communicating now, you might have an easier avenue than years prior, just because the way social
Social.
media has elevated the game in regards to just putting the message out, putting the information out. But yeah, I do agree with the standpoint of, like I told you before, of the mental pulse is really just pushing the message of being more than your sport, and working with kids to be able to dive into their interests, dive into different hobbies, dive into making sure that they're well-rounded individuals. So when that time does come, that they're ready to make that transition out of the sport. Because at the end of the day, everybody's making a transition. It's just a matter of when is
Yeah.
your transition happening. And so going back into your athletic identity story, did you ever feel that basketball was who you were, or were you identified as Toni the basketball player?
I think I was to a certain extent in high school. That was
Oh,
what I was known for. But I really made an effort in college to be involved with different organizations and being involved in the community, which I was so proud that in college we're always doing volunteer work and stuff. And sometimes I would actually do some volunteer things on my own. I never forget we did the Special Olympics, and I had never done anything like that.
mhm.
Even at Swarthmore High School, we had a special education wing, but I was so involved with basketball. I didn't have time, and I was in
Yeah.
AP courses and stuff. I didn't really have time to devote to go volunteer, go help. So that's one thing I will say. Basketball has helped me meet so many different people, being involved in things that I would have never guessed. My first time being out the country was with basketball.
Yeah.
But I think in high school, I was so closed off. My parents were so like books and basketball. I remember if I didn't get a certain grade point average, my mom would threaten to take basketball away from me. So I was like, yeah, I
Mhm.
got to stay on top of my grades. So in high school, yes, I definitely was the Toni, the basketball player. In college, I think I was more like, I felt like I was more well rounded. Could I have done more? Possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should have. But at the same time, that's why I tell people, everybody's like, oh, sports, they're just sports. I'm like, no, if you're a collegiate athlete, that's a full-time job. You have meetings, you have class, you have practice, you have
Right.
workouts, you have conditioning, study hall. What are you talking about? That's a full-time job.
No,
Like
it's a
you're,
job for sure.
listen, you're probably
That's
clocking more than 40 hours a week for sure.
absolutely. And that's why I say if I tell people if you're not sure if you want to play college sports, don't play it. You gotta really
Yeah.
want to do it because it definitely does test you on whether if you want to play it or not. So you going back to you were saying at UWF you had thought about possibly transferring. Why would you possibly transfer if you were the star player?
I think for my freshman year, I was like freshman of the year, first team all conference. No, I think it was second team all conference. I made All American, honorable mention, just doing all these things as a freshman. I'm not trying to say put a target on my back, but a lot of my teammates, a lot of people don't know how to clap for others. And I was like, I'm not going to take this, not saying it was bullying. People just say, little birds going to church, I'm just saying little
Yeah.
stuff. And I was like, I don't have to take this. I like where I am, but if people are going to bully me or try to mistreat me for being good, then I
Right.
don't want to be a part of that. And that was probably the only reason why I was thinking about transferring, because I did have some tension with some of my teammates. They were older, and it was one of my teammates. We're really close now. But at the time, she was on some, I'm your elder, I'm older than you. You need to listen to me. I'm like, we're at this point, we're not, we're all grown. It's no
Right.
freshman, sophomore, senior. It was whatever. We're all grown. But she
Right.
thought I should be bowing down to her or just, and I'm a chain person now too. But back then I used to be like, I score all the points. Like nothing moves without me. So I probably added on to it. But at the time, being a young girl, I had never been a part of conflict like that for real. So I was like, I'm gonna run away. That's what I gotta do. I'm gonna run away. But honestly, I had no reasons to say I wanted to transfer other than that. I think I was just a little not scared, but I was just like hesitant. If this is what it's gonna be like next year, then I don't want to be a part of it.
Got
Type.
you. But the thing of the matter is, like, you could have haters when you transferred. And just
Yeah,
what you
that's true.
experienced at
I didn't think about
UWF
that.
could have
Yeah.
easily happened in another school. But I definitely completely understand what you dealt with because I remember being a freshman in Lee High School and starting varsity. I could go and I had the seniors that they just hated it. They hated that I was the best player as a freshman, right? And
Listen, it was given. What's that scene from Love and Basketball? We all know.
basketball with Monica, yeah.
What they say. Randall got pregnant. They was done recruiting.
It's the only thing that stopped me my freshman year From all that, to be honest, all that hate was the fact that I ended up tearing my ACL the fourth game of the season. But I had a hell of a season in a matter of 3 games my freshman year in high school. So it's tough. It is definitely tough. You think that you're friends with these people, and then it's time to actually get on the court and the balls and play. And people hate because your number keep getting called and get the ball T, get the ball T, blah blah. And it's just tough. It's just really tough from a mental standpoint dealing with that because, and I hate to say this, sometimes we as Black women can be our own worst enemy. So, and I'm not sure if that was the case in your regard, but it was the case in my regard. So we definitely have to work to be more supportive of each other, especially Black women, for sure. So
I want to ask you a question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
But when you were talking about, you just said when you were a freshman at Lee, I'm sure maybe at Georgia State too, did you feel like, as a player, do you feel like you was clutch? Did you like that pressure on you? Let's say end of the game situation. Did you want, like, when they was like, oh, get the ball to T. We want T to have the ball. We want her to take the last shot. Did you like that pressure? For me, I never liked that pressure. I used
You
to be
didn't
like,
like that pressure?
I was gonna do it, but I knew the game is in my hands. Like, I gotta be Kobe or LeBron right now. Like, why can't I be like background, a supporting player? Like,
why can't I be the why can't I be the passer?
Yeah, I'll screen somebody. I'll box out. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say there's two versions to T because my freshman, not my freshman, my high school years, I would say yes, give me the ball. When I went to college, it was completely different because it was a completely different situation. I went in, it was 15 people on the roster my freshman year. It was five freshmen. It was five of us, all guards. That was a huge mistake in itself. That we all went to Georgia State as guards. And then plus I was made into a point guard and I really was more of a two player. So I wasn't in my right position. And I wasn't able to ever, to be honest with you, I wasn't able to ever get my confidence to that level to be ready to take the clutch shot.
Position.
Yeah, to take that clutch shot. I had a game against Pepperdine in the Tulane tournament back in, I think it was my sophomore junior year. And I got back to myself, but then the next game I didn't play much because I made one mistake and I'm out. It all depends. I think it all depends on the player from the standpoint. If they are getting those affirmations, if they're getting those opportunities and the coaches and the players are believing in them, I think they're ready for the clutch opportunity, the clutch moment. Or they're able to overcome those mental obstacles that keep coming their way, and they still are able to say, forget what they're saying, and I'm still gonna be the best that I can be, right? Yeah. Or you do like I did, and you just struggle mentally, you struggle internally when you're put in situations. And that was one thing from college that I look back and I'm like, man, if I had just overcame those mental hurdles. You going back to how June Seals was a tough coach and you was prepared for that in middle school. See, I wasn't prepared for that. I had a tough coach in middle school, but I had a pretty easy coach in high school. And so when I transitioned to college, I had a hell of a tough coach in college. And she just was always riding me. And I just struggled to overcome all that she brought forth each day. And so if I was mentally ready for that, I've been okay, but I never did overcome. And by the time I overcame, hell, they didn't recruit it a couple classes. And then it's just, if you don't overcome in that first year or two, the recruiting classes keep coming and it's just a tough situation.
It is. People don't understand that too. I have a little brother. He plays for Grissom High School and he's playing for Jack Doss. And I told him, I said, I had an older coach. And people always, they old. And I'm like, he's very knowledgeable. Don't ever say he don't know what he's doing. You know what I mean? Like, I said, I know in the moment because you're a little kid. He's like, you're a little kid. I said, you need to listen to what he's saying, not how he's saying it.
Yeah.
So he'll tell us not to do such and such. I'm like, in the game of basketball, coaches can always say they don't want you to do something, but when you score, they're not going to say nothing. They just happy you score. And that's all I try to give him advice on. This is preparing you something for much greater. Because then, like you said, in college, I was so used to all the hooping and hollering. When I got to college, my coach, she'll be riding me and everybody's like, how you dealing with that? I'm like, I've dealt with worse.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah. But having an older coach, it does. I'm not gonna say the game passes people by, but I will say that a lot of times the game that older coaches are coaching there is different than the current modern day game of
Yeah,
basketball.
that is
And
true.
so that could be a tough thing in itself because the older game of basketball, you talking about Michael Jordan going up against the current day LeBron James. It's completely different style of basketball. Or Michael Jordan going up against Steph Curry. That's completely different styles of basketball. And that's why when we keep having this GOAT conversation, we really can't have it because the style of the game has changed so much. The competitive, well, not the competitiveness, but the physicality of the game is completely
These
different.
guys are
I
big,
mean,
they weigh more.
I
Think about
mean,
it.
the
You
physicality is
got people,
completely different. So you can't compare Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant for real in his prime or in his heyday or LeBron James. But LeBron James, when I saw this GOAT conversation, obviously I say Michael Jordan, but LeBron
yeah.
James is doing a hell of a job. The fact that he just
I think it's
9.
every era. Like you said,
Yeah.
Michael Jordan was your GOAT. My generation is like Kobe, and then some people say LeBron. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's a
Yeah.
different era.
Yeah.
They're
Each
all
generation.
listen, they all can hold their own
Yeah.
any given day.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so going back to your story, so let's talk about your support system. Who was your
Okay.
support system?
So I would say my support system was everybody in my immediate family, especially my mom and my grandmother. Oh my goodness. I used to hate to see them coming sometimes because listen, T, I have that old Southern granny. Like she
Okay.
would yell at the most awkwardest times in the game. I'm like, I'm somebody shooting a free throw. You're not supposed to say anything. Like we had to teach her that. Like during the free throw, don't say nothing. When the team you're going for, don't
Right.
say anything. But I would say I had a blended family too. So my dad was married and his family would all come to the games, and my mom and my stepdad all would come to the games, all my little siblings. I had cousins and aunts, especially when I played AU, they were traveling sometimes to see me play. So I think I had an amazing support system. Even like people my parents work with would come see me play. So that made me feel special and that made me feel seen. Okay, like these people come to see me, I gotta play well. I gotta give them a show. Because Black families, they come to the game, you don't play right, you don't play well. They're
Yeah.
gonna talk about you so bad. So that was always my fear of them not being proud of me or not being satisfied by my efforts. So I always want to make sure my village always was proud of me and satisfied. I'm also, I don't know if you knew this, I'm only second generation college graduate. So there are a lot of people in my family who are still, I'm not going to say they're not living in poverty. They see what I've done in my life. Oh, you done so much I can't even dream about. So I had a cousin one time come and bear hug me. It was like, I'm just so proud of you. And I remember thinking, like, this is the person who really more of my mom's age. So he talked to my mom more. But for him to bear hug me and to say those things to me, I'm just like, wow, like, I really have a lot to be proud of. And I have a lot of people, not trying to say they're banking on me being successful, but they want to see me win. And that was, I think, throughout the years, although after playing sports, life has not been what I expected, it always makes me feel okay. This is just a little rebranding era. Like I had a lot of my big accomplishments happen so early before I turned 25. So I those are things I look back on and I can nod my head in satisfaction. You know what? I'm okay. I'm all right. I've done a lot of great things at the beginning of my life. Now let's get this end part together. Let's
Right.
get these accolades and stuff for this.
Yeah. Figure out that
No.
transition. Get that
Yeah,
transition going from
sure.
sports to real life. And I know over time you will figure that out. You figure out that
Yeah.
transition and get that niche, and that opportunity will come about for sure. Going back to what you said about Black families, and if you don't
Listen.
show up, they might have something to say, or they will have something to say. And that's something we
Yeah.
gotta, I want to like work with that with my organization about helping parents to realize that we got to be careful about what we say to our kids, because at the end of the day, the kids know that they didn't do well if that's the case. And
Yeah.
we just can't just keep piling it on. And because at the end of the day, we mess with their self-esteem and their self-worth. And a lot of times kids are tough on themselves, because I know I was. And so we just gotta, as parents, work on giving positive affirmations and encouragement, and giving the kids a space to learn, and they will learn in time and in due time. So for sure. But going back to your transition, that transition will come and things will happen, and I'm sure connections will happen, and you will get that opportunity that you're desiring, and you'll be on your way. So what are you
Yeah, I'm
currently doing today?
hopeful.
You
You said what
hopeful?
now?
So what are you currently
Yeah.
doing today?
Today is gonna be just a chill day for me. I went to the gym this morning. I went to the grocery store just to grab some stuff. So I'm on this weight loss journey. I've lost about 30 pounds.
Okay.
It's
Good
30,
job.
35 pounds. I can't keep up with it. But I just remember at the beginning of last year of 2023, I was happy. When we get happy as women,
Yeah, we
we
eat.
eating and doing too much. Yeah, I think I weighed 236. That's the biggest I have ever been. And for months, I didn't understand why I was feeling weird. I didn't understand why I just didn't feel comfortable in my body. But I was thinking, oh, it ain't my weight. I just thought something's different. But since I've been on this weight loss journey, I've been more active, I've been eating better. I see a big difference in even my mental health.
Yep.
Get up and move your body. You don't even really have time to stress because you're like, okay, I didn't burn like 600 calories. Okay, I'm hungry now. Like, let's get something to eat. And then when you eat, if after you've eaten, it's like, okay, now I'm chill. I'm fine. As where when I was stagnant, when I wasn't moving as much, I just felt so sluggish. I just was unmotivated. Getting back active, getting in the gym has really changed the whole trajectory of my mental health and my whole being in general, too.
Absolutely. So where are you working? Where are you working now?
Where I'm working, so I work part-time at Publix, and then I'm still got one foot in, one foot out of education. So
Okay.
still subbing and stuff. I don't know what I want to do, T. Remember we talked
Yep.
about I have aspirations where I want to work with young people, but I don't know if the school or education setting is the right setting for me
Yeah.
because it's hard. And I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie, I'm scared of them kids. And I'm not trying to say that they're just so violent. It's not that. They just don't care. And as an educator, as a person who everything I do is planned out, I'm very goal oriented. And to hear people talk about they don't care about things, like, yeah, I'm just gonna walk away slowly, back away. Because I'm like, what do you mean you don't care? You're still so
Hmm.
young. Like you should be full of life. You should be so motivated. And I don't know if it's their circumstances or
Yeah.
just them being involved or engulfed in social media, TV, and things like that. But so education is on the back burner right now, but this is my prayer. If that's where I'm supposed to be, then I'm okay with that. If I'm supposed to be in this school setting, continue to sub, possibly becoming a teacher full time, then I just have to suck it up and just do the best I can with trying to reach students or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, I will say the generation, you're not that far from this generation, but the completely different type of generation of kids, completely different type of generation of kids. But with each kid and with each phase, each generation, we eventually figured out of how to reach them. And I really can't speak to this generation, to be honest, just because I've been out of coaching for 3 years, 4 years. And so I
You miss
haven't
it?
been hands on with this generation. Yeah, I miss it. I do miss coaching. And that's why I'm trying to get my organization going so I can be back in the swing of things with the youth. But I don't miss, I'm an engineer by day.
Mhm.
And rushing from work to practice and all that, and then now you add in I got a kid. It's just hard to juggle and hard to manage. So that's the part that I don't miss, the everyday rushing from work to practice.
Yeah.
If a meeting is running late at work and trying to rush out the building to get to practice and catch the
Yeah.
last 30 minutes, that part I don't miss because I was coming to the high school on two wheels. So
Mhm.
yeah, but I do miss coaching. But going back to this generation of kids, this generation of athletes, we have to just say that social media is like the leading force of their existence. And
Mhm.
we have to try to get this generation to understand not to have that as their goals or as their something that they aspire to be. I think social media is good, but we have to all keep it all in perspective. Like right now, my church is going through a social media fast, and
Mm,
I was just telling the first lady of our church last night, I was like, because we've done a different type of fast each the last couple of years. We did a liquid fast, we did a Daniel's fast. And I feel like this fast is probably the best fast I've done because it's the most clearest.
yeah.
The clear, like my mind is so clear right now compared to dealing with the other fast because I still had other things cluttering my mind. And it's just, my mind is really clear. And if we were to take this generation away from social media, or not even just generation, just the parents of this generation too, because they're a lot of them push their kids stuff as well. And they're on social media as well. So if we were to just put social media in its own perspective, I think this generation will be a better generation. That's forthcoming and we'll be trying to figure that out in the days ahead, the years ahead. But yeah, Toni, so if you just before we get out here, if you had one thing to say to the younger Toni, what would you say?
If I had one thing to say to little me, I would tell her to continue to be yourself and you can do whatever your heart desires and to stop being so stuck up, let loose a little. I don't know. I was so used to being like so school and ball. And then when it wasn't, it's like, oh, okay, this is different. Like you said, the transition was a little tough, but I'm still here. So that's all that
Yep.
matters.
You still here. That's all that matters. Hey, Toni, really appreciate you coming on today and joining us at the Mental Pulse
Absolutely.
podcast. And wish you well. And we'll always be talking. All right. Take
All
care.
right.
All right. Bye.